Hi, my name's Chris Simmons. I'm Vice President Finance at Silicon Alley Telecom. We're a startup company in the telecom industry.
I'm Alex Galatic with Strategic Energy Limited. Our electric service is an alternative to that of the local electric utility company.
My name is Hal Meyer. I'm with Pin-Tight Corporation. We manufacture the world's first vibration-proof hose clamp, and we're here looking for money to begin production.
I'm Larry Kausert with Newstar Collaborative Technologies. We're a software company that specializes in high-speed, high-security voice and data communications over networks.
Great. So who's going to get a chance to turbocharge their growth plans? You'll know if you keep it right where it is. I'm Margot Lee, and MoneyHunt is next.
MoneyHunt is made possible by PricewaterhouseCoopers, committed to entrepreneurial ventures through a wide array of consulting and financial services. And by Fast Company magazine. Fast Company, the handbook of the business revolution. And MoneyHunt is also brought to you by Yahoo Finance, an online resource for investing and personal finance.
Welcome to the crossroads of the American dream. I'm Miles Spencer. Ever wonder how tough it is to be an entrepreneur? Like convincing a total stranger that you have a good business idea. Well, we take a snapshot of that very moment, and we call it Money Hunt.
I'm Cliff Ennico, and here's how the show works. We scour the country for America's greatest entrepreneurs and then set them up against America's toughest critics. They try to impress us. We try not to be impressed. At the end, we'll select one guest to receive some free help and guidance from our MoneyHunt Mentor.
And for this show, we have Hank Reiner, President and CEO of SourceLink Business Services, a subsidiary of Jordan Industries. SourceLink acquires and grows profitable companies in the corporate outsourcing industry. Welcome to Money Hunt.
Thank you, Miles.
Thanks for being on the show, Hank. Our first guest is Larry Kausert, Chairman and CEO of Newstar Collaborative Technologies.
Welcome to Money Hunt, Larry.
Morning, Miles. Thank you.
Newstar specializes in secure, high-speed, simultaneous transmission of voice, data, and images over any medium. Larry, welcome to Money Hunt.
Thank you.
Give us a little bit of history, first of all. How did this company get started?
Necessity being the mother of invention. Actually, I met a young man in '92 who built a computer for me. About 5 months later, I crashed my computer without having backups and called him up at 2 in the morning, and he was awake as well. And that started a good relationship. He told me about an engine or a communication protocol that he had developed. He said, why don't I give you my protocol? You send me your data at the end of the day that you've created. I'll send you mine, and we'll have backups of each other's data at a remote location. And being an entrepreneur, I said, you know, I can't be the only guy who crashed a hard drive without backups, and I'm probably not the only guy who'd be willing to pay somebody to never let that happen again.
But hopefully the only guy who calls people at 2 a.m.
Perhaps so.
No, that's true. But that's the backup product now. How did you get into teleconferencing? Because that's really the focus.
Right, and that is our entry product. And the engine that was developed basically is extremely high speed and provides high security communications. And in '93, long before anybody really was doing anything like that, we started looking at how we could stress that process and how much we could add to that protocol and send over the internet backbone and a lot of other connections. And we decided the best way to test that would be to start putting things on top of it. Rather than data, could we also send images? Well, we found out we could. Well, could we put voice along with the images? Yes, we found out we could do that too. So we just started stacking things on top of it. When it came to video, and everybody talks about internet video, but nobody's really doing it yet because of the bandwidth issues. So we found out that we could do an extremely good job of sending images like document sharing and things like that, as well as voice and then underlying data, all at the same time over as little as a cellular connection, a 9600 baud cellular connection. Wow. So we decided to go to the lowest common denominator, focused primarily on the small office, home office type people who are doing, they're trying to connect and communicate with larger corporations, but they don't have the ability to put in ISDN lines or T1s or something, so they need something that will allow that communication.
Now your plan says in the product section that your product's aggressively priced. How do you set this price, and how does it compare with similar products from your competitors?
Actually, it's when you look at some of the people that are considered competitors on a point-to-point basis, it's priced the same way. We give it away. You get on the internet, you download the product, and the point-to-point is free. Where we differentiate is in the server technology. Our servers will allow, in the NT environment, up to 64 people to connect simultaneously in conferences, even in multiple conferences, so that one server could have 10 conferences of 6 or 6 conferences of 10 or so on. And we have priced that on a per-seat basis, and we've compared that with some of the communications software that's out there, such as ExcelNet, some of the things that are available from Microsoft, but will not do this. There's a product called Farsight.
Larry, everybody really is focusing on the video conferencing market right now. And one of the big concerns, as you mentioned in your introduction, is bandwidth.
That's exactly right.
Let me tell you, is the risk with any video conferencing system that it's going to slow down depending on the number of users that are on the system?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The more people you put on a system with video conferencing, the worse it's going to get. Companies like PictureTel and even Intel with their video products, they're great video products.
What's the optimum size, for example, for your products? What would be the optimum teleconferencing call or video conferencing call?
Well, ours doesn't do video.
It doesn't do video?
No,
okay.
This is not video. It's what's called audiographic conferencing. So it's voice as well as document sharing and data communication. So you can do it over a 28A connection. Do it very well. Anything higher than that, it just allows that many more people to communicate. So we are optimized to take advantage of the lowest possible connection, and the more bandwidth you give us, the better we do.
Yeah. Larry, now you've got two very different kind of products here. You have a speedy backup product, which I could certainly use because I've had some of the same experiences you've had with backing up stuff, large volumes of data. But then you've also got the high-tech teleconferencing product. Aren't you a little concerned about schizophrenia?
No, actually we're not, because in fact, let me throw another variant in there, and that is that the real value in what we have is the underlying technology. And one of the other ways that we intend to generate revenues is to license that engine and the codecs or the compression-decompression algorithms that we have designed to other developers who will create products around that.
Now you have decompression algorithms. Are you patenting these?
Yes, we are.
Ah, okay.
Originally, we hadn't planned to, but we've in this industry where you have a 9-month half-life with anything, sometimes it's not worth the trouble.
I probably agree that's a good move.
Larry, I noticed in your plan that with the NT product, you can support 64 simultaneous users.
That's correct.
And with the Unix version that's coming out, you'll be able to support up to 1,000.
That's correct.
Are you concerned that the world seems to be moving rapidly towards NT, that less users are supported with that platform?
We've talked about that. That's obviously a serious consideration. The issue with NT is that it is not stable enough to go above a certain number. We've tried it. We've tried certifying it with larger numbers. You can find the Unix platform working on single and double processor devices. When you start trying to do the same thing, for instance, with a 64-user server like ours, you have to be up to 4 Intel processors to make that work.
Larry, let's move on to the market competition section. Your plan mentions you wanted to target internet service providers as partners, but this is a consolidating market right now. Even if you do win some of those, your product going to be consolidated out of the market?
That's correct, and what we've actually done is, rather than going to the service providers, we're going to the access providers and the backbone providers, so that they are, in effect, they are becoming resellers to the downstream internet service providers. And just this last week, business plans are living documents,
Right. Yeah, sure.
and they are all subject to change, and if they're not changing, you're not working your business plan right. And last week was probably one of the most dramatic things that ever happened with us. We were able to structure a $6 million purchase of some rather unique software that we've been developing in early stage development, as a matter of fact, for voice over network. And it is strictly designed for backbone providers, not for the internet service providers. But downstream, it will mean a great deal to them as well.
Larry, your plan calls for going into 3 different markets: corporate training, education, and healthcare.
Yes.
Do you think you'll be able to have the resources to be able to cover each of those different markets effectively?
Yes, through value-added resellers and through the access providers who are providing those types of networks. At the risk of sounding politically correct here, but there's a paradigm shift taking place now where a lot of corporations, medical schools, universities are outsourcing their network services. They are going to the access providers and the backbone providers, asking them to run their networks.
Let's move on to the management and money section. Your plan calls for some expansion capital. Obviously,
Yes.
with these new developments, that may have changed a bit. How much are you, does the plan call for, and what are you going to use it for?
Well, originally we were looking for $1.8 million to develop our plan. We are making some changes to that because of this issue. We originally, with that, we're going to put about 40% of it into R&D, about 40% into marketing, and the balance into operations.
Quick competition question. Some of your suppliers are household names. You've got Microsoft, you've got Netscape. What's to prevent them from becoming competitors?
Nothing. They could certainly become competitors. The advantage we have right now is that we have a window, according to some of the meetings that we've had recently with some very large people, we have a window of 12 to 18 months that we're ahead of the
And
game.
with that competition, you may be making more calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. You can find out more about this guest and many others at our website, www.moneyhunt.com. Now, deregulation of the electricity means confusion in that market. One company's solution is next when we come back.
In 1983, Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman were aspiring artists living in New Hampshire. Late one night while watching TV, Eastman began sketching an upright turtle with a mask and nunchucks. With a tax refund, they printed 3,000 comic books. An agent thought they'd make a great toy, motion picture, and TV series. He was right, and the two young men became heads of a billion-dollar publishing and licensing empire. Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What a great idea.
Welcome back to Money Hunt. Before our second guest, let's answer some viewer questions that were posted to our bulletin board at www.moneyhunt.com. Judy Homart is a student that watches us on KRMA in Denver and writes, "When did business plans originate and why are they so important? I'm working on a project for a class and I'm writing a business plan." Well, Judy, there are some cave paintings in Lascaux, France that some scholars think are the first business plan for the wheel. Actually, seriously, they actually originated in the late 19th century in the U.S. When venture capitalists and professional investors first came on the scene. Why do you need one? Because without one, you can't raise any capital. Real good question. For our second guest, it's Alex Galachik. He's Power Supply Coordinator for Strategic Energies Limited. Strategic Energies Limited is a Pittsburgh-based company providing energy consulting and management services for industrial and commercial end users. Alex, welcome to Money Hunt.
Thank you.
Good. Your company has a real interesting history. You're a spin-off of a law firm. Am I right about that?
That's right.
Good.
The president of the company, just out of law school 25 years ago, was approached in a law library, asked to review an electricity contract for a major steel company. He said, "I don't know anything about electricity," but that was the beginning. 25 years later, he knows a lot about electricity and natural gas consulting.
I've been approached in law libraries, but never with questions like that.
Right.
Now, your focus so far has been on natural gas deregulation. Am I right about that?
We've been managing natural gas for 12 years since it was deregulated.
When you
before
say managing
electricity.
natural gas, you consult with companies and help them with their usage. Is that basically it?
Actually, we help them build strategic plans for the supply side. We manage the supply of natural gas, not the actual usage. And we've also been consulting with the supply of electricity since 1991.
Now, you brought some videotape for us, and if we ran that and you'd talk over it, maybe we could learn a little bit more about your company.
Starting with the map of display in our control center. This control center is in Pittsburgh. This is where we manage our purchases of electricity, kind of like a portfolio of electricity products, much the same way a mutual fund manager would manage a portfolio of investments.
Well, is that all publicly available information?
It's publicly available, but it's kind of cumbersome to gather. It's in proprietary databases that we have hooked into our systems.
And what are we seeing here?
This is the utility service territories and the transmission map across the country. It's also linked into generators information for 2,500 generators. We know their costs across the whole country.
Now, Alex, the big story here is deregulation of electricity. We've all read a great deal about it, and your company is basically gearing up for electricity deregulation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, right now, 10 states have passed legislation so far, and there are another 10 or so that have proposed legislation. For phasing in competition, much the way that long-distance communication was open to competition 10, 11 years ago.
You raise a good point. This is happening state by state. There's no federal agency that's just imposing this by fiat. Doesn't that create a lot of high startup costs, though, to gear up for this?
It makes it difficult. It makes it actually beneficial for us in the long run, because it is a barrier to entry for new potential competitors down the road. But right now, it does make it difficult. You have a myriad of competition, not just and of rules for competition, not just in the States, but in different markets and regions of the country.
Now, once a company is confirmed, what's the contractual lifespan of a relationship?
Company confirmed in what way?
Once you've brought on a new customer, is that something that you're gonna keep for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10?
Our standard contracts are 1 to 3 years. It depends on the customer, but we actually offer provisions where you can, if we're not getting you the best price for power, and you can find an alternative for the same reliability, then we will let you.
Alex, you mentioned that the major value that you provide to the customer is lowering the cost of the electric bill. How can you also guarantee that they'll receive the same level of reliable service that they had before when they were getting bundled services from the utility company?
Well, we've been managing supplies in natural gas, and this is where a lot of the information is transferred from one commodity to the other. We've never had a customer interrupted in 12, 13 years of managing our natural gas supplies. And we feel that by taking control of it, especially with customers having less control whenever and perception of more risk when you move to a deregulated environment, we can help them regain control by managing everything from the supplier, from the generator, and all the transmission right to the delivery point.
Alex, let's push on to the market and competition section of the plan. You know, many larger, more lucrative customers already have long-term agreements with utility companies that are created prior to deregulation. How are you going to penetrate that?
Well, there are the larger, more lucrative, like you said. Lucrative is questionable in the sense that larger doesn't necessarily mean lucrative, more lucrative, because the larger customers have, say, the industrial customers, they've had the most negotiating power with the utilities in the past. They could threaten to shut down a factory and move somewhere else. They had municipalization, cogeneration possibilities, opportunities that we helped develop.
Alex, there are people out there called power marketers right now that are doing very much this thing in the electric industry. Don't you think they've got a jump start on you in gearing up for this?
Well, they don't have much of a relationship with the retail user. Most of the power marketers are in the wholesale market, and they've got relationships among each other. There are a few that are breaking into this, but most of them don't have the customer contact that we've built up over years.
And how about the utilities and I think what they call them utility sales affiliates? They're basically their marketing arms.
Right. Right.
Alex, I noticed that your sales force will be primarily external, the use of affiliates versus employees. Does that concern you that you will not have direct contact with the customer?
Actually, it does to the sense that the management sense of it. Some people have told us we've got a tiger by the tail by the marketing affiliates. That we intend to use some of the money that we're looking for our plan to hire our own internal sales force. But in the meantime, there are companies that sell somewhat complementary services like demand-side management firms. We do supply-side management, the upstream of the meter. There are people that monitor the usage and try to save you money.
Let's move on to the management and money section. Your business plan calls for some expansion capital. How much and what would you use it for?
Our plan calls for $7 million. We would use that over the next 3 years for staffing up our 24-hour operations center, information systems development, sales and marketing expenses, but mostly for staffing. We're developing the information systems in-house, and it's actually the less expensive way to go, but also gives us much more control.
Okay. Alex, your management team, they clearly know gas, but who on your team really knows electricity?
Actually, I have 13 years.
Or is energy just energy?
Well, actually, there are a lot of similarities, but I have 13 years in the electric utility area, the electric utility industry. We also have a couple of people that work for Westinghouse on the electric side. 20 years for one guy, 17 years for another guy.
Here's one in the risk side. What allowances have you made for the offset of losses from what you call stranded costs in your business plan if the price of energy drops below your contracted purchase price?
Stranded costs is really recovery by the utilities of investments that in their capital assets like generators that aren't economic, and they're our problem with stranded costs is the implementation of retail choice. It may make it difficult to penetrate a market, but we can just avoid that market and go into markets where that problem doesn't exist.
Alex, what about small to mid-sized retail users? Any plan to try to build like buyer pools and stuff like that to compete?
Definitely. Matter of fact, we were talking recently with someone who sells oil in central Pennsylvania to a lot of residential end users, around 4,000.
Great presentation, Alex. You can find out more about this guest on our website at www.moneyhunt.com. And when we come back, our partners meeting and our mentor picks one money hunter to help.
It was 1972, and a young football player was sidelined with an injury. During his recovery, our John Stahlberger kept his legs in shape kicking around an old beanbag. Although it quickly wore out, he stitched another in leather and sold over 70,000 units. Whammo eventually bought the rights for $1.5 million. Hacky sack. John Stahlberger. What a great idea.
Welcome back to Money Hunt. Our entrepreneurs are done with their pitches, and it's time for our analysis section. Our first money hunter was Larry Cowsert from Newstar. Hank, what'd you think?
Well, I like Larry, and I like his business plan. He's certainly in a market that's growing. Knowledge sharing software is a growing industry right now. I believe he has a great product. I'm a little concerned about the competition. People such as Microsoft and IBM will see this application and will go out there with competitive products in the future. But I think there is a terrific market opportunity there.
Cliff?
Yeah, I agree with Hank. Their strength is in product development. These guys are good at developing software products, and that just shows from that $6 million purchase that they just went through. They're also focusing on key technologies, which is great. These are not little products that they're focusing on. Of course, the disadvantage is, I mean, from what little I read, I mean, Microsoft and Netscape, to name only two, are currently developing products in the teleconferencing area. So I agree with Hank. What these guys got to do is get a product out and just protect their technology every which way they can.
I think these guys are blessed from the time they had their 2 a.m. phone call. I mean, just getting an 18-year-old at 2 a.m. in his house.
Well, getting an 18-year-old at 2 a.m. is no hassle.
It's important to note that they, one way or another, are stumbling across or developing products that really address a market niche, and very, very hot market niches as well. Yes, they have competitors, Microsoft, Intel, and Vocaltech. You know, those all ring bells, all public companies. But the fact of the matter is, I think this company has enough on the ball with both of their technologies.
Well, I agree. But don't forget, Miles, their strength is in development. So far, I don't hear that they've really gone out and really tried to commercialize a product yet. That's going to be a new experience for them.
No, but as you hear it today, the guy nailed a $6 million long-term order.
A sale of the technology. He didn't try to make it and sell it himself.
Non-exclusive
Big
sale,
difference.
though. Let's move on to Alex Galatic from Strategic Energy.
Alex did a very effective job in communicating his company's plan. Clearly, the utility industry and the deregulation is a terrific market opportunity. It's going to be over $200 billion. There's going to be a lot of opportunities out there for aggregators. The thing I like about Strategic Energy is that they have a leg up on the competition. The utilities do not worry me as competitors because they traditionally have been very poor at marketing. The fact that they have 115 customers in the natural gas area, and they've been doing this successfully for so long, I believe that they'll be able to leverage that into the electrical area. I like this company a lot.
Cliff, your thoughts?
Yeah. Deregulation of electricity is going to be huge, and it's going to create huge market opportunities for a lot of folks. These guys got two legs up. Number one, they've been doing gas deregulation for a while, so they know how to do the consulting. And number two, they got the affiliation with the law firm. Let's not forget, these are regulated industries we're talking about, and that legal tie is very, very important. I do see, however, a lot of high costs at the startup, and I mean, this is a labor and capital-intensive business that they're going into, and it's still in its infancy.
A barrier to entry. I mean, each individual market, each individual state, as they pass these regulations, this company has experience in prior individual states and probably have a good background in it. Deregulation of an industry, that's exciting. And again, competition from the utility companies themselves doesn't really scare me, sort of a sleepy market. I like where they're positioned.
I like where they're positioned. They're targeting the large industrial users, which makes sense because that's their current client base and they understand it. I just wonder if the large industrial user is going to be quick to accept a new supplier of consulting services. There are people already out there that are doing electricity consulting, and I just think that a lot of the large industrial users are going to be slow to change over, but I think that's a risk in any deregulatory
Now,
environment.
Hank, you're a busy guy. You got to pick one money hunter to help. Who's it going to be?
Tough choice because both of them presented solid plans, but I like Strategic Energy Limited. I think they're in an industry that's going to grow. I think they have a leg up with their business that they currently have, and I like their business plan. I believe they can execute it.
Great. Hey, Margot Lee.
Thanks, Miles. Now we're going to turn to our money hunters and get their response to the partners meeting. Larry, what's your response to the analysis?
I thought it was great. I appreciate the compliments about our R&D, and I agree with that. We are expanding our marketing capabilities, and as was witnessed last week, and that's part of what we want the money for. So I appreciate the comments. Thank you very much.
Alex.
I also appreciate the comments, and I want to make one exception. Our target is commercial customers, not industrial, but we'll take the valuable insights back with us.
Thanks very much. Cliff.
So you think this is easy, trying to convince total strangers your business idea is sound while a national TV audience looks on. It's not.
But if your dream is to grow a business, take a lesson from our guests, and maybe we'll be seeing you on Money Hunt.